Hello and welcome back to Park Fermi Parlay with Kieran Downey. Breaking news edition, and that is coming from the Williams team once again this year. And it is that Williams have announced that Logan Sargeant has been dropped for the remainder of the season and will be replaced by F2 driver Franco Colapinto for the remaining 9 races. I'm going to start things off with a comment I got on Threads. I asked people what they thought about the news. And Jason_Paul said, why now? I don't understand why they waited one more race. Why couldn't they have done it at the summer break? And that was my first thought, because I spoke about this when we did our bold predictions for the rest of the season. When I spoke with friend of the pod, Campbell, Campbell thought he was going to get dropped during the summer break. He thought that on August 23rd, he wasn't going to be here. And I was of the opinion, if Logan had been here for the next 10 races, which he is obviously not going, the next 9 races now, which he is obviously not going to be, I said that potentially Logan Sargeant could score a point, just one, within those 9 races. I didn't think coming into this year that Logan Sargeant should actually have had a seat. His 2023 performance was worthy of being dropped after that season and just get somebody new on the grid. I'll stand by that. I'll stand on that hill till the day I die. I then thought that if Williams didn't drop him during the summer break, then he wouldn't be dropped this year. They would let him see out the year, and I genuinely believe that Williams did want to let Logan, and James Vowles did want to let Logan see out the rest of this year, and then he can go to IndyCar or wherever he's going to go. I genuinely believe it. However, I'm going to say that the crash in FP3 at Zandvoort was the straw that broke the camel's back. For 2 reasons. One, Williams had just introduced a huge upgrade package to the car, and Williams haven't had a lot of upgrades this year. They've literally just put an upgrade on the car, and Logan Sargeant binned it into a barrier. Accident in FP3 was completely driver error. That wasn't an incident that, you know, Logan was just a passenger in and, you know, it was some freak accident. That was Logan Sargeant made a mistake and crashed his car. Completely driver error. Should never have happened. He put 2 wheels on a banked corner onto grass, wet grass, in the middle of a hurricane, and binned his car into the wall. And at that moment, I think James Vowles had said, I've had enough. I have had enough. I want him out of the car. If anybody says, oh, well, you know, Alex Albon's crashed the car, I'm not going to have Alex Albon slander, because Alex Albon has completely outperformed Logan Sargeant for the past year and a half. Has wiped the floor with him clean. They scored, 27, 28 points last year. Every single one of them was scored by Alex Albon. Logan Sargeant scored 1, but only through disqualification. He has not performed. His 2023 performance was not great. I argue that he actually shouldn't have been in the car in 2023. I don't even think he had enough super license points. I think he was actually rushed into Formula 1. He wasn't really setting Formula 2 alight, I don't think. Was rushed into it by the Williams team. Has completely underperformed, and I would say that is as much on Williams as it is on Logan. Obviously, when you're Logan Sargeant in that situation, you're going to jump at the chance to get into Formula 1. So if you get offered that seat, you're not going to say, I don't think I'm quite ready, because then you've probably missed it. So I don't blame Logan for taking the opportunity. I kind of blame Williams for putting him in that position because he was not ready. You then look at his performance at 2023. I think it is absolutely mental that he was given a drive in 2024. And at every stage, he's just not delivered. He has had so many high-profile crashes that Williams can't afford. They are a team that is fighting for bare minimum points. If that, they can't afford to have one of their drivers crashing out. They also can't afford to, if you think back, I know this is obviously when Alex crashed, but if you think back to the beginning of the year when Alex crashed his car and they were like, we don't have a chassis to fix it. That's the situations Williams is in this year. They don't have the ability to make the parts and, you know, afford to just fix these cars whenever they're binned into the wall at the rate that Logan Sargeant has crashed. So I do genuinely believe that James Vowles and Williams were ready to keep Logan till the end of the year. If they weren't going to bin him in summer break, they were going to let him see through the year. I 100% believe that. But that crash in FP3, that was his own fault, just as they've put upgrades on the car. It's inexcusable. I have to side with James and Williams on this one. It is actually unexcusable that he's put himself into this situation. And I actually wonder why they haven't done it sooner. Again, as I said, I don't know why he was given a drive this year. And with his performance this year, I don't know why they've let him stay for the rest of the year. All Logan had to do, when I said at my Zandvoort race review that Logan just needed to take the pressure off himself and just, you know, see out the year, he could have done a Zhou Guan Yu. He could have just had a lovely Sunday drive, kept it chill, not put any pressure on himself, and just, you know, driven slowly around the track for 10 races. And there we are. Thank you very much, Logan Sargeant, for your service. Enjoy IndyCar. Instead, he's binned it on the first race back in a practice session. It's not even as if there was any competitive nature that was going on. You know, he wasn't battling somebody during the race. It was practice. So yeah, I think that's why I do generally think that it is the crash in FP3, and James Vowles, I think, has just completely had enough and just said, that's it. He's had a chance. We've given him so many chances. Get him out. So now to the news of his replacement, and it being F2 driver Franco Colapinto. I have to say I'm actually a little bit surprised at who they've picked to replace him. I'm not surprised he's being replaced. I'm surprised by who they've picked, because it seems like we're replacing Logan with a driver in a very similar circumstance. I don't think he has the super license points. Maybe he does. I don't know. But he's in his rookie F2 year. He's 6th in the standings of F2. And do I think that he's going to come in place of Logan and start scoring points? I don't know. It's too hard to say at this point. What I will say from a Franco Colapinto standpoint, this is phenomenal for him. This is the best thing that could happen to him right now. This is amazing for his career to be able to come in and say, let me show you what I can do, and off he goes, right? Do I think he'll perform any better than Sargeant? I don't know. We'll see in Monza. The reason I'm surprised is just it's not who I thought they could go for. There's so many names floating about in the paddock that have been rumoured to potentially be taking over from Logan should Williams ditch him. Liam Lawson's one of them. I would say Liam Lawson actually makes a really good call, and I know he's obviously tied to Red Bull, but Christian Horner has openly said if Williams need him for 9 races, they can have him for 9 races. And it changes nothing really, because if they stick Liam Lawson in that car, then it makes no effect on 2025. Because Liam Lawson can still go back to Red Bull, because they have Carlos Sainz and Alex Albon lined up for Williams in 2025. They literally just need a driver for 9 races. You've then got Mick Schumacher. Toto Wolff was also very open that if Williams want Mick Schumacher, they can have Mick. And I've seen the comments online by people saying, well, Mick has already done 2 seasons. He was like Logan, he was crash happy. I do think Mick would be a very different driver if you put him in an F1 car now as to what he was back then. I don't think he was ready. I've said it before, I don't think he was ready to be an F1 driver back then. And I think the pressure of being a Schumacher maybe got to him. It's been a few years now. I think he's calmed down. Toto Wolff has even said that what we've seen back then is not the full potential of Mick Schumacher as a driver. So Mick or Liam Lawson, I think, would have been excellent choices to stick in that car for 9 races. We know that Liam Lawson is a very good Formula 1 driver. He did great things last year in place of Daniel Ricciardo. He didn't crash. He did an alright job. So much so that we're all talking this year again about him potentially replacing, well, either Danny Rick or Sergio Perez. Here we are. We'll still have to wait to find out what happens with him for 2025. The Mick Schumacher of it all, I think Mick would have done an alright job. I don't think he would have done any worse than Logan, and I would have liked to have seen him back on the grid for 9 races to show that he is an improved driver, to stop the slander, because I don't think it's appropriate not appropriate, but I don't think it's reflective of who he is now, I will say. And could sort of silence all of that and then, you know, obviously not next year, but maybe the year after. I find it weird that they've gone with Franco Colapinto. There was another comment I received from Al Berger 1906, I believe, who said, it's nice to see that James Vowles is keeping it within the Williams family. And I will say, I do kind of agree with that. I do think it is a show of confidence from the big Williams team in their junior driver program that they are willing to take a driver from that and put him into the big leagues for 9 races. It's not as if it's for a free practice session or for a race in place of a driver that's not feeling well or whatever. They are there for 9 races consecutively. So it is good to see that they obviously have the faith to just and pop him in. I would say that Franco Colapinto is along the lines of your Jack Doohans that have been promoted, that they're not, I wouldn't say CVs lighting up the world. Like, I wouldn't say it's the most impressive CV of a driver I've ever seen. But he now has a chance to add to that CV with something very impressive. And listen, we don't need him to be winning races. We don't need him to be doing anything like that. A couple of points here and there would be nice, but just keep the car out the wall, to be honest with you. One of the final comments I want to talk about from Johnny M_71, who said, I'm not sure how I feel at the moment. I think the FP3 crash was the final nail in the coffin. 100% agree. Could not agree more with that statement. But maybe Colapinto can do a Bearman and score points for Williams that are sorely needed. Do I think Colapinto is going to score any points? It's too early to tell, I think. I genuinely think it's too early to tell. As I said, I'm not entirely too sure. I think it's too early to call what Colapinto would do. It'd be the same as when Daniel Ricciardo broke his hand and Liam Lawson was put in. It'd be the same as saying, can Liam Lawson score points? Is he going to perform better than Danny Rick? At that time, it would have been too difficult to tell. I think if Colapinto can go in, perform better than Logan Sargeant, and the benchmark is already pretty low for that, so just saying. If he can perform better than Logan, if he can perform anywhere close to Albon, like if he can be in and around where Alex Albon is, phenomenal. If he can be better than Alex Albon, you're laughing. You're absolutely laughing, because especially if you're Franco Colapinto, especially if you're Williams, because if Colapinto goes into that car and does amazing, in a few years' time, when Alex Albon decides he's, like, the moment his seat becomes available at a top team, Carlos Sainz, gone. He is gone. He will jump at the chance at a top team, and a top team would jump at a chance to sign Carlos Sainz. 100%, do not doubt it. I would also put Alex Albon in the same boat. He will jump at the chance to go to a top team. So if either one of them, I would say they're locked in for the next 2 years, both of them. If either one of them decides to vacate off, fine, don't worry, because you know who we've got? Franco Colapinto, who did amazing in his stand-in for Logan Sargeant, his replacement for Logan Sargeant. He's now, you know, he went back to F2. No problems, no issues. I'm hesitant to say whether or not I think he would do amazing. He's not a breakout, but that's the nature of Formula 2 at the moment. There's so many good Formula 2 drivers that it's hard for there to be like an amazing breakout F2 driver that all the teams want. And if Franco Colapinto can come in and do a decent job, then he's laughing, because he can just add that straight onto the CV. I was an F1 driver for Williams and I beat my teammate and I did an alright job. Maybe I scored a couple of points. That's all he needs to do. I would also say that when you look at the likes of some of the drivers that have come into the sport, your Jack Doohans, your Oscar Piastris, your, these kind of drivers who, did Formula 2 and then, went and were a reserve driver somewhere and they took a year off, it's not the end of your career. So even if Franco Colapinto comes in, does the rest of this year in Formula 1, goes back and does F2 for a year, and then takes a year off, maybe he's a Williams reserve or something, takes a year off to do that and does simulator work and all this kind of stuff, it doesn't mean he can't then become a Formula 1 driver. These guys have shown that that's possible, so it's not the end of his career. So I think this is only good things for Franco Colapinto. Do I feel a bit bad for Logan Sargeant? Yeah, I feel a bit bad. I feel bad for any driver that gets dropped. I felt bad for Nick de Vries last year. Wasn't a big fan of him, but I still felt bad for him. But that doesn't mean that I don't think it's 100% the right decision by Williams. I think it is definitely the right decision. I'm surprised they didn't do it sooner. That's everything, really. I will say that Franco Colapinto coming into the sport, like coming into F1, joining at this time, adds, one, a lot of excitement for Monza, that a race I'm already very excited about. I actually bumped filming predictions today because of this, so I'll then film them tomorrow. But it's going to be very exciting to see. It's another element to keep an eye on. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what you can do in Monza. And that is everything from a pretty quick breaking news podcast. I will be back with predictions from Monza in the next couple of days. But have a lovely rest of your day. Let me know what you think in the comments about Logan Sargeant being dropped by Williams and Franco Colapinto coming in. I would love to know your thoughts. And I don't say this a lot, but I'm going to say it now. If you haven't already, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more breaking news, predictions, reactions, and everything from the greatest sport in the world. But that is everything from us. Have a lovely rest of your day. Love you. Bye.